Hey there, it's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday, and we all know what that means. Another riveting episode, live stream of Behind Breaking Bond. Introduce yourself, young man.
I'm Randy Kahan, Director of Victim Services at CrimeStoppers of Houston. I'm wearing this new spiffy CrimeStoppers shirt because evidently my colleague said that this logo is really getting torn up. So,
and he's look, Raymond, he's got a little color.
I know.
Oh, look at this.
We actually found a picture of you with a white shirt.
Yes, yeah, he's got proof. He's got proof
I
that
feel
you.
like Magic Mike today.
Also joining me is,
Ray Hunt, Executive Director of the Houston Police Officers Union.
you know, you made, before we started the live stream, you made a real interesting comment. I want to talk about that, about how long, because, you know, we had the pandemic and cases are moving slow anyway, how long an average felony defendant would have to wait to go to trial.
Yeah, so they're saying right now, if you get arrested on a felony in Harris County, it could be up to 6 years before you're going to go to trial. Which means that before we used to plea out cases, and they'd go to prison after a few months in jail. Well, now their attorneys are telling them, don't plead out. You're going to be a free person for about 6 years before you ever face trial. And then what's probably going to happen is your case is going to get played out at that point.
Well, right, and the longer you wait, the better plea deal you're going to end
Absolutely.
up with.
Witnesses disappear, witnesses die, people forget about the case. It's not a big deal. And with that big of a backlog, at some point the DA's going to have to start dropping charges because there's no way you're going to be able to get to the violent offenses otherwise.
Well, and we've already seen a lot of misdemeanor. When you look at people's misdemeanor charges, a lot of them dismissed.
I've seen a lot of dismissed, particularly weapon charges. But what Ray brings up to me is if cases are taking 5 to 6 years to actually be brought to trial, that means a lot of these guys are out on bond.
Most of them.
And we all know.
I'd say all of them, even capital murder defendants,
We
right?
all know what's going to happen. The longer you're out on bond, you know, odds are eventually that perhaps you might commit yet another crime. And we've seen that. You weren't meant to be on bond for 5 years.
Right. Yeah. The whole idea of bond, it should be about a year, right? I mean, it's like you're awaiting at the most. Exactly. You're awaiting trial for a month, a year at the most. Not what we're seeing here in Harris County. We see people out on with multiple felony bonds for many, many years. Correct?
I've seen people on bond from 2014, 2015, and I've seen them on bond, charged with additional crimes, back out on bond again. So, like I said, there's stuff that I've seen, and I'm sure Ray, you know, we've been around pretty much the same time period. As I like to say, I've not seen what I'm seeing, and I've been doing this for over 30 years.
Me either. And
Sadly, we're never going to catch up, Andy.
I mean, you've never seen this whole bond thing before.
Never. And the whole reason why when we catch people now, they're on 5 and 6 bonds is because of that time frame that it's taken to get to trial. Anybody who's got a pending felony, no one's going to hire them. So what they're going to do is back to their thuggery. They're going to be back out robbing. They're going to be back out stealing. They're going to be back out breaking into your car. That's what happens. And that's why when we catch them, they get another bond because it's a 6-year period. Then that starts a new clock for a 6-year period. And it just goes on and on.
That's an excellent point, because someone that even, let's say a defendant had a job, the fact that they picked up a felony charge probably would mean they no longer have a job.
If it's not construction, they probably don't have a job.
Right.
And listen, these guys aren't out there trying to get a job. These guys know the easy money, and the easy money is robbing somebody, stealing your catalytic converter, selling dope, breaking into your house, and finding guns and selling those kind of things.
Well, and you mentioned the catalytic converters. That was our breaking bond last Tuesday. And, you know, everybody was making a big deal. Oh, we've got them, which is great. I mean, it's wonderful that they were charged.
Had a lot of different law enforcement agencies.
Yes, it was like, oh, everything's good now. Don't worry about your catalytic converter. And like you said, within days, all of them were back out on the street.
Not only that, like I said, to me, the disturbing point on that case was the dad.
Yes.
The ringleader, dad and his 2 sons, and then you had 2 other, young people involved. But the dad's on parole. The dad's got prior felony convictions. And the dad's allowed to make a bond. And the bond was like half the size of the amount of bond on the other 2 who didn't have prior felony convictions. That kind of stuff just boggles your mind.
The man on parole, the one on parole gets the lowest bond
should
amount.
immediately be going to a revocation hearing with TDCJ.
Yes.
There's plenty of space in TDC to put him back in there and finish his original term that he got paroled for. That's exactly what should be happening, and that would be one major key player off the streets.
Yes, and remember too, everything that we're telling you is in court documents. So the judge, the people in the court system, we're reading it, so we're assuming that they're reading it too.
You know, when I look at a case, and I'll just pull up, it was one that I pulled up 2 hours ago. I'm looking at this guy. As you can see, there's 2 pages of rap sheets right here. So he's on bond for felon in possession of a weapon, which is a gun. And everybody's talking about guns and firearms. Everybody's talking, what can we do about it? And we're taking a deeper dive into felon in possession of a weapon, which is an issue nobody wants to talk about when it comes to gun safety. So here's this guy. He's been on bond for felon in possession of a weapon, a gun, 4 times on the same offense, which means you violated your bond at least 3 times in order to get 4 different bonds. So he's on 4 bonds on the same offense. Then while on bond, he gets charged again with felon in possession of a weapon, a gun. Now, you would have thought years ago that would have been the end of the story.
Right, yeah.
So he gets on bond again, and he gets another bond again. So you have 2 different charges, one with 4 bonds, one with 2 bonds, both felon in possession of a weapon, different charges, different dates. Now he's back in custody for guess what?
Felon in possession of a weapon.
You got it. So here we are again. So you guys are spinning your wheels, picking up the same people time and time again. And we wonder why we have this crime problem that we have. And to me, it's staring right in the face. It's because the revolving door at the courthouse.
Randy, if your regular viewers on this, if they're tuning in and they're like, wait a minute, I already saw this episode. It's because these same people over and over and over. This guy, he just pulled off 2 hours ago. This isn't last week's.
Yeah.
This is this week's.
Yeah.
Same old crap over and over and over.
And we all know that, yes, the Texas Constitution requires judges to set bonds, but every single judge has the ability, if you violate the conditions of your bond, every judge in town could look at you and say, if it was me, they could say, Randy Wallace, you violated your bond's revoked, you're going to jail. Of course, they would never even give me or you a bond. We would be the only 2 people in Harris County who would not get a bond, or it would be like a gazillion dollars.
We would be Dolce Fino'd.
He finally was vindicated.
That we would.
I think next session, you're going to see another concerted effort dealing with the issue, particularly felon in possession of a weapon, particularly getting a PR bond. And I think Senate Bill 6 was passed by Senator Huffman to basically eliminate PR bonds for defendants charged with most violent crimes. For whatever reason, felon in possession of a weapon was not classified as one of those crimes.
Right.
But the stories that we've done, you remember the one we did with the guy that was actually on parole for ag robbery with a deadly weapon. 2 weeks after he gets out, he gets charged with felon in possession of a weapon, which is kind of an obvious violation of your parole.
Right.
But they give him a PR bond instead, and then now he's charged with murder.
I don't think Joe Citizen that hears felon in possession of a firearm thinks a big deal. The reason that person's in possession of a firearm is he's either robbing people, killing people, shooting people, doing carjackings. There's a reason that he does it. It's not for his personal protection.
Right, and not to go hunting.
It's not to go hunting. These people are
The bottom
the
line
worst of the worst.
is,
Yes.
as a convicted felon, you are not allowed to possess what?
The firearm.
And what is it like there's a time limit, right? 3 years, 5 years, something like that?
It's something like that, but
Yeah.
all of these people, we're talking about months at a time when they get rearrested.
Right, yes.
It's very disheartening for officers to work their butts off out there to do proactive policing, to catch somebody. You got a felon who's got 3 different bonds for felon in possession of a firearm. You arrest him again for felon in possession of a firearm, and the next day he's right back out again.
Well,
How does that give you incentive to do it again?
I remember before he left Acevedo, I was
Got his name that quickly, huh? So did I.
But no, I remember talking to
No
him,
comment.
doing an interview, and he's like, officers are seeing the same people, and it's like there were even, like some defendants would even laugh, at the officer. I'll be out in a few hours. And they were out within hours.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
No doubt. We made more arrests in 2021 than we made we made more arrests in 2021 than we made in 2020. However, not necessarily more people. The same person getting
Right.
arrested over and over and over because now they're getting multiple bonds.
Yeah. And we've talked about that before. I mean, most people are law-abiding citizens. They're never going to see the inside of a jail cell. You have a small part of society that they're in the criminal element because that's what they choose.
Which is why I said before, if you want to make an immediate decrease in crime in Harris County, every person arrested for felon in possession of a firearm who has a firearm again, if they're on parole, on bond for felon in possession of a firearm, and they do a serious offense, no bond that person, and immediately crime will start going down.
Right.
Because
Why
those
do
are
you
the
think we don't treat felon in possession of a firearm gun seriously?
I know that this is a broken record for me, but it's because the Democratic judges in Harris County right now who are under Rodney Ellis are continuing to tell persons they're not convicted yet. If they're not convicted, you don't keep them in jail. Well, as I've said before, it's a clue. If you've got 5 different times you've been felon in possession of a firearm, we catch you robbing again, we charge you with aggravated robbery and felon in possession of a firearm, there's a reason that that person should be kept in jail and not let out on bond, because they probably are going to do it again.
And this whole, it's not true to think or say that down at the Harris County Jail, there's somebody that it's a theft. They had marijuana. They picked up a DWI. That, I forget this name, David Bitzer from the DA's office.
Assistant.
Yes. He told me, he said that, and he said it in a hearing too. If that's the case, if there's somebody sitting in the Harris County Jail for shoplifting or some misdemeanor, it's because they want to sit in there. Right now, the people that are in the jail are dangerous people, very dangerous.
90% in the
Yes.
Harris County Jail have pending felonies, and a majority of those are for violent felonies.
Right, yeah, that's who's in the Harris County Jail, not, poor Joe Schmo who had a joint in his pocket. I mean,
Let's
a
go
Harris-
back to the gun thing that you and Ray were talking about. Everybody's saying we have way too many guns on the street, right? Everybody, you hear that ad nauseum, nonstop, right?
yeah,
Yet here we have known felons who we have that are charged with owning, not even owning, whatever, having a firearm, which they steal, whatever it is, they shouldn't be having a firearm,
Yeah.
and they're charged with a felony, but we keep putting them out. To me, it just defies logic.
right.
I heard a reporter the other day say, it's not the guns, it's your sons. And that's exactly it. It's
Yeah.
these same people over and over and over. And if they're a felon and we ended up taking them into custody, we take their firearm from them, guess what? When they get out, they're going to break in 5 cars until they find another one. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And those break-ins are only misdemeanors.
And the bonds can be so low sometimes for felon in possession.
They're not low. You
Nothing.
can actually get out of jail.
Yeah, you get
free
PR,
card.
yeah.
Again, another case I looked at yesterday. This person is on felony probation. Also has prior felony convictions in Waller County. So you're on probation in Harris County and you're charged with felon in possession of a weapon, a gun. That's an obvious violation of your probation.
Right.
But instead of being held in custody to adjudicate your probation for violating your probation and putting a no bond, this particular defendant was given a PR, get out of jail free bond, even though you're on probation.
And he violated the probation.
Yes.
And theoretically, his probation could have been
But this
revoked,
person
or he
is
could have,
back in the community.
right.
If he's on bond in Waller County, maybe there's somebody from Waller County here that can go now and revoke his bond in Waller County and take him into custody.
Yeah.
Because then he'll stay in jail.
Well, and we are not seeing this in other counties. I mean, this is pretty much here. There are judges across the state. I mean, it has become, I think, a statewide issue to some degree. Wouldn't you say?
I would agree with that. It's hard to say because I don't know the in-depth of what other
Right.
counties are doing, because we're really the only entity that's tracking
Right.
these types of cases.
Now, obviously, I've seen reports out of New York where I think it's an issue there too, where they just basically,
Same problem.
yeah, nobody
Judges.
goes to jail. And there were stories where they had like one defendant, I forget it, over 40 theft charges where he'd steal stuff and then write a citation, and then he'd just go back and steal something else. He loved Target. It was incredible.
It's pretty
how many
sad
times he
when
saw-
you go into some retail stores now and you see certain sections that are locked up.
Yeah,
And the reason they're locked is to prevent theft.
yeah.
Home Depot the other day, I tried to buy a weed eater. They're all locked up in there. It's because somebody just comes in and grabs them all and
Yeah.
leaves. Nobody stops them.
It's stuff that before you would never actually see locked up.
No.
You know, it's
No.
incredible. But we're going to stay on top of the felon in possession of a weapon issue.
Our CrimeStoppers, we have a research center that we're hoping next month to actually unveil some of the numbers. And I was actually able to take a look at them yesterday, and I was just like, first of all, it's really sad that we have this many. And we took a look at 5 different categories: felon in possession of a firearm. We took a look at homicide, ag assault with a deadly weapon, ag robbery, and sexual assault as well. So we're just looking at some hardcore offenses, and the numbers I think are going to blow people away. And for everyone that's up in arms over the amount of firearms and guns, the data that we're going to show you should also get you up in arms about what we're looking at and what we're talking about today, the continuously releasing felons in possession of a firearm back to the community.
And like you pointed out, it's the worst person that you want to have a gun.
Absolutely. When you have a felon, and most of the time that felon who's got that firearm is a felon for aggravated robbery or felon in possession of a firearm then, or some serious felony offense. And I want to make one more comment about, I heard on the news the other day about, is the uptick because of the constitutional carry that was passed by the state of Texas. None of these felons who are felons in possession of a firearm are now allowed to carry a gun under constitutional carry. Constitutional carry does not allow a felon to carry a gun. So let's get that cleared up right now, because folks out there are spreading misinformation about that.
Well, and two, I don't think anybody has a problem with someone having a gun for their own personal protection. They might have a gun at home in case somebody breaks in, or
Who's not a felon.
Right. I mean, there are people that they feel a little safer. There's a lot of crime going on. It's understandable why some people would want to carry a gun, would want to have a gun. But yeah, we're not talking about those people. We're talking about convicted felons who are dangerous people.
And here's one again. Here's another one. This person is on probation for felon in possession of a gun, on probation. While on probation, they violated their probation. We actually now have a warrant. You have a warrant. We have a reward out. And guess what he's wanted for? Felon in possession and an ag assault with a deadly weapon. All that within less than a year after being put on probation for felon in possession of a weapon.
Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon is basically someone shooting at you or robbing you.
Yeah, and the thing about all of it, look at the message that as a community we're sending, right? The message is you can repeatedly break the law and you're not going to be put behind bars. You can violate your probation or your parole and you're not going to go back to prison. That's the message that we're sending to people.
One thing, and you just touched on this, Ray, one thing that I talked about last week was the homicide rates. Obviously, they're up. And they're up from 2020, they're up from 2021. But when you think about it, they're without the advances in medical technology.
Yeah.
And I said there would be more people.
Yeah.
But more people are actually kept alive from ag assault with a deadly weapon after being shot. So the homicide rates would actually be much higher if it wasn't for advances in medical.
Well, look at Ben Tom. I mean, Ben Tom is like world renowned, known for being the best trauma center, like one of the best trauma centers in the world. Yeah, we live. The medical center is here. That's an excellent point. You think of all the people that were shot and luckily survived, and it's because of, like you said, modern medicine.
And every police officer is carrying tourniquets now. If a police officer shoots someone to stop them from killing them or someone else, we're still required to put a tourniquet on that person if you're able to, and to do everything you can to render aid. That's in a mayor's executive order. So you're absolutely right. More people are being saved now when they're actually just it's a serious bodily injury, but it's not necessarily a death.
Yeah, 10, 20 years ago, they probably would not have survived
That's
it.
correct.
Well, hey, we're going to, on tonight's Breaking Bond, we're going to tell you about 181.
We have a special guest star tonight. We're not going to tell who it is until we actually do the segment tonight, but he doesn't know he's going to be featured tonight. But he's one of three. Two of the suspects are actually in custody for murder. He's wanted, and he just, like I said, when I saw him, I'm going, okay, you're on a PR bond. You forfeited your bond. But we're going to talk about some of the things that happened when he was on his ankle monitor that, frankly, you just got to laugh.
Really, if it wasn't so serious, it would be very, very comical. So
Don't confuse the smile for not, it's a disgusting smile.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
like,
Yes.
You just can't believe this stuff is going on in 2022.
yes. Hey, thanks so much for watching the live stream. They are on YouTube. So on the Fox 26 YouTube channel. So make your friends aware of it and have them watch it. And remember, we can all make a difference come November when we go vote. Use the power. Watch us tonight. Breaking Bond tonight at 9. Thank you so much. Bye.
Ray, do you need an